crash and ended up in a wheat field very close to my grandfather's house. When they first landed, the plane abandoned, or the crew abandoned the plane because they were afraid it would explode. You know, they didn't know how they were going to get the airplane out. They immediately had people from Chanute Air Force Base at Rantoul come down. The plane was under guard 24 hours a day, my dad would say, and it was there for 6 weeks. The C-47 was an important, expensive plane. It was used extensively in World War II. On December the 8th of 1948, Jimmy Doolittle Jr., who was a captain in the Air Force, flew in from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to Rantoul to Chanute Air Force Base, and then came down, and he was going to fly the plane out. The newspaper report says that as soon as the plane started moving, they kicked on the jetpacks, and within 2 seconds, which seems like an incredibly short time, the plane was 30 to 40 feet in the air. And another report said that as soon as they kicked in the jetpacks, the whole area was just enveloped in white columns of smoke from those jetpacks. But at any rate, they got it safely in the air. The plane was flown safely to Chanute there and was completely repaired. A short time after that, it was flown back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, because 12 airmen had become stranded in Greenland. And this was the only plane that was already fitted with jetpacks, so they added 2 more jetpacks to it so they could fly this plane to Greenland to rescue those 12 airmen that were stranded there. A newspaper report said there were around 50 spectators there in the morning of the takeoff. I know that the Decatur Herald was there and the Green Up Press, but apparently there was some national news agency there also. They created a newsreel about the takeoff, and somebody said it was titled From Green Up to Greenland, because that plane had started there and then went to Greenland. Incidentally, it took us until the 1960s to get that area of the field farmed and filled in well enough that we could actually farm it without getting stuck there anymore. But every time I worked that field, I'd think of my father's airplane story. There aren't many things that draw national attention to Cumberland County, and that was just one of them. But it was just a story that had echoed in my mind from my dad telling it and talking to my uncle's family a little bit. I have an 11-year-old grandson that I want to relay that story to at some point in time when he can comprehend it and actually remember it.
In the late 1930s, my folks bought their first property in Cumberland County. Our home was about a mile east of where the Dewey School was located. And I remember vividly the first day of school that my brother and sister left for school. And I wanted to go with them. I wasn't quite 4 years old yet, so of course I couldn't go. And I begged her to let me go to school with them. And after much begging, she finally said that when I was 5, I could go to school. The fact that there was no playground equipment, not a swing, not a merry-go-round, not a teeter-totter, didn't bother me because I wanted to go to school. I wasn't thinking about playtime. There was a water well on the grounds, and there was a cistern at the southeast corner of the front of the school building. But neither of those water facilities provided water for the students that was safe to drink. So that provided an opportunity for one of the children in the school, usually the oldest boy, to carry water from one of the neighbors' homes, and for that he earned $1 a week. There were no hot lunches. We all carried a dinner bucket, and we often exchanged the contents of those dinner buckets. In the winter time, when the furnace was going, we could bring a potato or a jar of soup or something like that from home, and the teacher would place those inside the door of the furnace on a little shelf that existed there so we could have a hot lunch, and that was really special on a cold winter day. Electricity had not yet come to the country, And so the teacher was responsible for building the fire in the furnace and keeping it going. Country school teachers were responsible not only for the maintenance of starting the fires and everything and teaching the students, but they also had to get out and play with the students. And so they were the PE teacher and a participant, but the teacher got out and helped with that and played with us, and she had to take care of the maintenance, the cleanliness of the school building. And for all of that, she was paid $50 a month. We learned creativity because we had so little to work with. We learned about caring and sharing. The students had to bring their own things to school to play with and share with everybody else. We learned about nature and the love of God and country, and all of those things contributed, I'm sure, in a big way to my later life.
Neoga Days started back in 1948, and at that time a group of men who were members of the Chamber of Commerce. They were energetic men, they were civic-minded and had a lot of energy, and they decided to start a celebration for people in Neoga and friends and relatives. They had a lot of activities, and it was just a one-day event at that point. So then in 1949, they did it again. And since that point, we have had a Neoga Days. In the beginning, it was called a Neoga Celebration, and then it moved into Neoga Days. People would come back. They would plan their family reunions around Neoga Days. I had one gal tell me, she said, they had moved from Neoga to Texas because of a job, and she said, as soon as we heard when Neoga Days was going to be, we planned our vacation. We had to come back, visit with friends. They had class reunions, they would have family reunions, just meet up with friends. But the kids really were excited. There was just an awful lot the games that they had for kids, the rides. In 1956, which was our centennial, that was a real big deal. They had bearded contests, period clothing contests. They also, during that time, had horse pulls. Ray Walk was a person that he was engaged in farming, and he was always around horses. So he knew the people to contact in the surrounding areas, and that was really a big deal to have the horse pulls. We did have the sesquicentennial, started on a Tuesday and lasted till Saturday. And on Tuesday, the first thing was a tea put together by Sherry Cohen, and she did a lovely job. And we all dressed up in period clothing. We had Peggy Short stunts, put together moments from the past, and that was really informative, I think, for everybody who came to that. Parades were always so much fun. If you were ever here the day of the parade, it would start like at the high school and come all the way out to the park. Anyone could get in the parade that wanted to float or had a horse or had a tractor or a truck. The Shriners come at this point, and all the Queen contestants from around other towns as well. We've had 3 centurions who have been Grand Marshals. The first one was Winnie Bingaman in 2000, and then Helen Short in 2015, and then Mildred Gentry in 2017. It was just one day at the very beginning, then it went to 2 days, and now it's 3 days. It generally starts on Thursday evening about 5 o'clock, and that's when the kids really come out. Neoga Days now, it's bigger, it's better, it's evolved into a real community event. I mean, it always has been a time of unity, a time of celebration, of celebrating who we are and celebrating the fact that we do come together, that everyone does work together, and that we can have fun.
Long before before we had cell phones, the internet, and the World Wide Web. We had television, party line telephones, and radio. That's how we got a lot of our information. That's where my mom, Vera Dial, comes in. She owned and operated a dress shop in the early 1950s on the square in Toledo. After a few years, she joined her husband, Vernon, and they established Dial & Thompson Implement Company. As time progressed and technology was starting to grow and expand, local radio came to our area, and Doris Mitchell had a program on a radio station in Effingham.
The Cumberland County News with Doris Mitchell began as, in 1957, I believe, as like a little 5-minute insert, and very quickly it expanded to 45 minutes of various news, current events, gossip, all about Cumberland County. And it was just a blend of personality and charm and confusion and chaos and authenticity that really, it resonated with people.
And several times she asked Mom if she would fill in for her. One time she was sick and Mom filled in for her. And Mom said of course she would do it, and she loved it. And at that time, Mom wasn't on the radio, but not long after that she was approached by WKZI at Casey, which was a country western station at that time, to do a 15-minute Cumberland County news program from 10:45 a.m. to 11 o'clock, Monday through Saturday. So Mom would do the radio program out at their business. They set up a microphone and she would sit at her desk and she would give the news. She always included the weather and always just like she was just talking to you. It's like somebody was sitting there and she was just carrying on a conversation. The broadcasts were alive. So if the telephone rang at the store, you heard it. Mom never missed a beat. She just kept right on giving the news. And it was a short program, but she got a lot in that 15 minutes. She just reported on whatever was going on. She reported on county events like football, basketball games. So she had her own little sports segment, and she also would talk about parades, festivals, anything that was going on there, as well as the things that went on in people's lives. And I think she was so real that a lot of people made a connection with that. And I think that was important for her.
I'm G. Stanley Albin, and my first initial is Glenn, and that was my dad, and Stanley was my grandpa, so I don't have a name of my own. I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana, so I'm a Hoosier hotshot, not an Illinois sucker. Great-great-grandpa James Madison came from Kentucky and homesteaded there on the family farm. It was in the farm family for 100 years, so it was designated a centennial farm. We still own it today, and it will go to my granddaughters eventually, so it will be in the family a long time. The next step is 150 years that we're looking for. There's an Albin Bridge right next to my house, the Township Bridge, and it has a plaque on it that says Albin Bridge, built in 1922. My dad drove a 16-wheeler for Hayes Freight Lines in Indiana. His right leg was smaller than his left because he had polio at an early age. He went to Warm Springs, Georgia, where President Roosevelt had an institution down there that helped him get out of that. I went the first 3 grades in Mattoon, then I moved to Neoga, and we went to a one-room school from 4th through the 7th grade there. Then it was consolidated into Pioneer, which had all grades in it, and I was in the 8th grade there. And then I went to Neoga High School, participated in all sports pretty much. I was a pretty good baseball player. I batted 4th. After high school, I went on to U of I. I flunked out of there because I partied too much, and so then they said, take a year off, so I went down to Eastern and finished up down there as a business teacher. And I taught 34 years pretty much in Neoga schools. I taught business classes, bookkeeping, typing, shorthand. I remember in typing class I would beat on a wastebasket to get them to try to get in rhythm on their typing. Anytime I see a student now, I said I should have taught you more. I have a son and a daughter, and they live just across the road from me. Since my family is here, that gives me great pleasure to be close to them. 79 years has been quite a few changes. In Neoga, there used to be a pool hall on the corner, Pop's Pool Hall, and then there was a drugstore next to that. And Cass Stevens Grocery was the other way down the street. And we used to come in weekly and attend a movie. We used to drive Studebakers, and they had a pointed nose in the middle and a pointed fender on each side. But I no longer have those, but I do have a 76 Corvette Stingray, and I enjoy driving it. Unlike our neighboring town of Toledo, they have 989 happy souls and 11 soreheads, and we don't have any of those in Neoga.
In February of 2017, I went to Monations in Houston, Texas, and that's where my business is, and I went to listen to some guest speakers and things like that. Across the stage, the whole backdrop said, "If all your prayers were answered, would it save the world or just yours?" And immediately it got my attention. Our gratitude ambassador came out on stage and she said, "I want you guys to bring back something into your community. I want you to bring back love and support to your community." So I come back home and I had no clue what to do. And I looked at Facebook, and you know how ads flip up on Facebook, and it said autism equipment. And I thought, well, man, that would be cool to have in the Y. The name of our group is Autism Acceptance in Cumberland County. Although we let all special needs come. We had our first meeting in, it was October of 2017. We had a group of parents come over to our house. I sobbed. I had no idea. This one girl hadn't even been out of her home a whole year, because how could she? They had no groups to go to. They had no safe place to take their children. They needed this group. So all of a sudden we've got 37 kids coming, and we've got the parents and we've got the grandparents. So our first full meeting we had, it was in December, but then how we evolved then was almost opposite of what we thought it would be, but it's gone more into community and resources, and it's just for the parents to all talk and to be happy is like, it's amazing. So once we got into the YMCA, when it opened up, we were allowed to come in there in February. We have monthly meetings, and you do not have to be a member. And we encourage mom, dad, brother, sister, and the child on the spectrum to come. You don't have to be a member of the Y. We welcome you with open arms. And that's what it all is, just the community of the connection. More and more and more people have opened up autism groups in their communities. I mean, the last I counted, 23 more people have done that. I mean, in UK and Canada. I had no idea what, if all your prayers were answered, would they change the world or just yours, what that really meant. And you guys, it has changed it. You get some good hugs. You get some hugs. And one little guy says, "When you die, can I run this?" "Yes, you can, buddy." It might be sooner than you think, so you better get a little older. So that's approval.
And we're back. We're celebrating still. What great stories we have tonight.
Goodness. They are so amazing, aren't they?
They
really are.
And we're so glad that you're tuning in with us tonight. Once again, we still have a house full of people.
Yes.
They're sticking with us tonight, and so are you.
Of course, Stan is over there rubbing his head. I don't know. He's
Well, you know what? We just heard his story.
You know what? Oh, wasn't that so
Yes.
sweet?
Gee, Stanley Alvin, I love your story.
I love it.
He's in the house with us tonight. He's a character. He's funny, but you know what? I love about stories like that is that you get to hear about the memories that people have
yes.
of growing up in Cumberland County.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that we can share them with all of you tonight.
Just going for a walk down memory lane, that's what we're doing.
And what we want you to do is continue walking down memory lane with us by
Absolutely.
calling and getting a DVD so you can watch these stories at your leisure anytime that you want to. And once again, there they are on your screen, $75 for one. 2 or more are $60 each, and the number's at the bottom of your screen. We know you're sitting there watching, so just pick up the cell phone. You don't even have to get up.
That's exactly right. I have some shout outs to give. Joy from Greenup, she called.
Yeah.
Cheryl from Toledo.
Yeah. There we
Jeannie
go.
from Greenup. Marianne from Mattoon.
Yes.
John from Toledo. And Mary from Mattoon.
There you go. Yay. Okay, does anyone know how many we're up to?
We are
How
up
many
to
we up
20.
20? All right, well, we've met the goal so far.
Yes,
We're going to
we
give it
have.
a challenge for 10 more
10
or
more.
more. Let's break the
That's
record
right.
this time. Let's go for 15.
Oh,
20.
I think we can do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we can do
I'll
it.
tell you what, for anyone who has seen First Neighbor Bank in a parade,
Oh,
I want
my
you to call in
goodness.
tonight and get a copy of a DVD. Now, we know they've been in every parade,
Oh, yes.
no matter how big, no matter how small. Isn't that
Yes.
right? So we want you to call in. Oh, there we go. Yay! So give us a call and tell the folks that you want to talk to Carol Jo. She'll hop up here and say
there's
hi
my
to you if you want
husband
to.
on the screen.
Yep, you know what? We're all family here, aren't
Yes, we are. And the greatest thing about the WEIU family is there's always room for one more.
One more. Happy souls and sore heads.
That's exactly right. We'll take them all.
So here's the thing. We want you to give us a call. We've got some phone operators on right now, but we have 3 available. The DVDs are $75 for one. 2 or more are $60 each. So make sure that you don't go anywhere. You just pick up that phone right now and give us a call. And I want to talk to somebody here. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let you take that phone call. So forget that. We'll get back to Kathy in just a minute. Wanda Kay, over to you.
Well, I've got Millie Lee. I was going to talk to Millie Lee, but she's back there talking on the phone. My goodness, every phone. We've got a phone blitz. Woo! Every phone in the house is being used. We love it. And we got our sweet Jana.
Yes, we do. Look at us. We're all family here tonight. We brought back one of our goodies but oldies. You know why? Goodies.
Well, we are
We've got Jana here tonight.
We're the WEIU Angels.
Yeah. We have our former membership manager and our current and new membership manager
right.
here tonight, because you know what? Once you're part of the family, you're always part
You're
of the
always
A part of the family, and that's one of the things I always said about WEIU TV. We want you to become a part of our family, and that's what's happening tonight. And I want to know both you girls are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited to be here. I want to continue after my retirement to support WEIU TV, and this program is amazing.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it is. It really is. And
It's
you
all
know
because
what?
of all of these people.
Jana retired, and I think she's busier now than she was when she was working.
Yes, I am.
Who does that?
Me, I guess.
Right.
The one thing I always said when we had our live nights was, you know, who else would make a program on Cumberland County?
Right.
No one else but WEIU. So right now, if you're watching, we need you to get on that phone and we need you to call, because it's programs like Cumberland County, This Is Our Story, that make WEIU one of your family-friendly programs.
Yep. And
Exactly.
that's what we do here.
That's what we do. So right now, hey, we have one person,
Oh,
or we
Oh,
can
come
have a
on,
phone blitz.
everybody,
Come on.
give us a
So-
call. One more
Pick
call,
up the
one more
phone
call,
and
one more
call
call,
us.
and we got a phone
Come
blitz.
on,
One
call
more
us.
call. Who's going to make that
Phone-
phone
Come
blitz
on,
happen tonight? Pick that
yes.
phone up right
Right
now.
now.
Don't wait any longer. We want you
Look
to
at
talk
him.
to John Barger right here.
He what? Yeah. We need him to be busy right now. So, oh gosh, now we need 4 people to call now.
Oh, you missed your
yeah.
chance. Gosh
Yeah.
darn
You
it.
know
Now
what,
we
though?
need more people to call.
4 people can still call right now. The phone number's at the bottom of your screen.
Yep.
If you're enjoying this program tonight, we want you to call. One DVD is $75, 2 or more are $60 each, and I think Wanda Kay is going to talk to somebody.
I think so.
I
And she's got
am.
Millie Lee Stewart back there. Wanda
I
Kay,
am
let's hear
back
from
here
Millie
with
Lee.
the sweet Millie Lee Stewart. Now, she's a little nervous, she says, but you know what? This sweet singing beauty, I don't think there's no nervousness in your little body.
Well, once I get started, you just can't shut me up.
That's right. So tell us about the sweet music from Jewett.
It's mostly country. Is that on?
My kind of music. Yes,
Check, check.
you're on, honey.
Yes.
See, you can tell she's a singer. Check, check. That's what we do.
Make sure it's on. Yes, it's mostly country, but of course we have gospel music there too.
Oh, and I love gospel
yes,
music.
in our church, I sing a special at our church about every Sunday.
Oh.
And it's just a beautiful little town. Although I live south of Greene up on a farm since I've been married, we still go to the Jewish church,
Oh,
community
that is
church.
so great. Oh,
And-
aren't we so glad to have Millie Lee with us tonight? Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Please call in and talk to Millie Lee tonight.
Thank
Back
you.
to you, Kian.
All right, well, I'm standing here with Jana, our former membership manager. It feels like old times.
I know, it's so not prepared to be on TV tonight, but I'm glad I'm here.
I'm glad you're
to
here.
see all you all and supporting another program on Cumberland County.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got more stories coming your way. We're going to hear about Hazel Dell. Can't leave out Hazel Dell.
No.
The Rice Family Farm. We've got the Veterans Memorial and Neoga Churches.
Nice.
And Malin Votaw, which is part of the Short family over there as well, and early Neoga business. David Cameron, one of your favorite storytellers.
Oh, my goodness. You know what I loved about David Cameron? David, everything he would tell, and he said, and it was so great, and it was so big, and
Everything
it was just
was
like,
wonderful.
oh, it was
He's
wonderful.
positive,
yeah.
Oh,
like
I
that.
loved his story so much.
Yeah, we love all of our
We
storytellers.
really do.
You know, it's one of those things when you're on a program like this, you get to know so many great people from around the
do.
community. And we always say, once you come in the studio and once you're a storyteller, you're friends forever.
Absolutely.
Yep. And family forever.
And
forever,
family.
definitely.
And we want you to be a part of our family by calling and
We
becoming
really
a member,
do.
because when you call tonight and get a copy of the DVD, I want you to get one copy for $75 or two or more for $60 each. And you won't want to miss out on this because we've got lots of stories to share. There's 30 of them and 31 storytellers, because one of our storytellers is, I believe, from out east, David Mitchell. And so he was part of the storyteller with Brenda Jones, who talked about the ladies on the radio. And speaking of storytellers, I have Kathy Clayball. The phone is not ringing right now, so we'll go ahead and interview you. So I think it's been a blessing to get to know you and to know about all these different things that you're doing in Cumberland County with the autism program. I'm so glad that we were able to make that a part of our show.
I'm so thankful that you included us as new history, because we will pave the way and open more doors to autism in Cumberland County and the surrounding counties. So just check us out on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
For more information, Autism Acceptance in Cumberland County, we'd love to have you.
There you go. That's how you find out more about the Autism Acceptance Program. So if you're looking for information, check them out on Facebook. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Wanda Kay, back to you.
Oh my goodness, that Kathy Clayball, she is the sweetest thing. I know you can't wait to talk to her tonight, so please pick up the phone and call and order your DVD. I'm telling you, these are just the greatest stories and such rich history. And you know what? If these stories, if we didn't allow them to tell these stories, this beautiful history could be a thing of the past and forgotten. And I'm so glad that it doesn't have to be forgotten, because we remember you. We want your story to be told because you're important to us.
Yep, absolutely. We're all part of a great big family
Yes,
tonight,
we
part
are.
of WEIU. We're glad to have you back, Jana. Thank you for coming on with us
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you for sticking with us. We've got more stories coming your way. Like I said, we are going to hear about Hazel Dell, the Rice Family Farmland, Veterans Memorial, Neoga Churches, Malin Votaw, and early Neoga
Well, let
business.
me say something really quick
Okay.
about Hazel Dell. Hazel Dell had sheet music to a song called Hazel Dell.
Yep.
And we got our very own Cameron Craig to play the music for Hazel Dell while Linda Matherly tells the story. It is pretty phenomenal. So that music is actually Hazel Dell.
You know
How
what?
great is that?
When I went down there to look in the historical museum, which you'll want to do because it's full of history, so if you're eager to learn more after tonight, that's another way to get it. Watch your DVD, share it, and then get more history. But when I was flipping through the books, I saw that and I'm like, Hazel Dell? There's a song about Hazel Dell? So that's when Cameron decided to do that. So when you hear that, the music playing is the Hazel Dell song. How cool is that?
That is just the coolest thing ever.
All right, so don't go anywhere. We're going to get back to the show. Give us a call. We're standing by. We'll see you in a bit.
Yay!
1866, Hazel Dell was platted. It's in the southeast corner of the county, And the name came around a little odd because, for one thing, there was only one Hazeldale in the whole United States. But this man named Cook had written a ballad about Hazeldale. Everyone was singing about Hazeldale. So when it came time we need a name for our little community, the mayor's daughters said, Hazeldale. And so it was Hazeldale. And Hazeldale at one time had everything you needed. It was a bustling burg. The saying was, you can be born, live, and die in Hazeldale and have everything you need. The first church was in 1864. And today there's a church. You drive into Hazeldale, there's a cemetery on each side of the road and a church on each side of the road. In 1877, they built their first brick schoolhouse. And at Hazeldale, with being where it was located and things, when consolidation started in 1948, 10 schools in that area consolidated to Hazeldale. So they had a graded school. They had a train car called the Doty that would take the students, the high school students, from Hazeldale and beyond up to Casey to high school each day and bring them back home. But Hazeldale had quite a bit going on for a while. In the 1920s, in Hazeldale, they decided they wanted a soldiers' monument. And so they got together, got the money together, and put it in the driveway to the Church of God Cemetery on the south side of the Hazeldale Blacktop. And it's still there today. In 1940, Irene Hollinsby had the first beauty shop in Hazeldale. And she had one of these great big monstrosity electronic perm machines in her shop. And a perm was $2.50. The shampoo and set was 50 cents in 1940. And I was told the machine is now in a museum. Don't know which one, but it is in a museum. Hazeldale was, as I said, a bustling town. And we have the map. It shows it had several blocks, 2 churches, big school. In 1925 and 1937, there were fires, and these fires wiped out whole blocks, whole sides of the street. There are still people living there and still things going on.
My grandparents, Orrin Rice and Clara Lettner, were married in 1913. The farm that they purchased was purchased in 1919. And Grandpa, like I said, Grandpa was a farmer. He had 50 acres of land that he purchased, and he purchased it from Markwell and Ratcliffe. The location of the 50 acres is a half mile south of the Cottonwood United Methodist Church. And this church sits on the corner of the road that runs from 121 up to Lincoln Log Cabin. And also, the road that runs east and west is known as the Bradbury Road. The 50 acres that Grandpa purchased was all farm ground except for the house and the barn and everything. Another of the stories that he told was about the fact that they raised sorghum. Sorghum is a plant that has seeds at the top that you can use for livestock feed, but it also has the pole that it grows on, kind of like a sugar cane. They cut all the strip everything off of it, and they send it to a mill. And there was a mill somewhere around Toledo, I think, that Grandpa took sorghum to, and he would squeeze the juice out of the sorghum. And then Grandpa got half of it, and I think Grandpa probably sold a good share of what he raised. Grandpa was a farmer, but he farmed with horses. And I have a picture of my dad and his two brothers with the horses from the farm. The two big work horses, and each one of them had a colt. And one of them, I think he sold one, but the real pretty one he kept, and they called her Queenie. And we have a picture of Grandpa sitting on that horse. I don't think he'd like to do that, but somebody talked him into a picture. After the war in 1950, my grandfather bought 40 acres of property 1 mile south of the Cottonwood Church. We called it the Tippett Place because he bought the place from Luke Tippett. It stayed in the family for income for Grandma until the mid-'80s, and then it was sold. The farm today looks nothing like it did, and even what I can remember. I even remember houses on both the 50 acres and on the 40. But it's all torn down, and it's flat farm ground, and it's good farm ground. It's very productive farm ground.
The Cumberland County Veterans Memorial started approximately 12 years ago, and starting in 2017, the person who had started, which is Carrie Verdine, had come to the auxiliary, the Toledo American Legion Auxiliary, and asked if we'd help revive it and get it going again. So from there, we have taken over and raised more money to get it going. The basic amount of the project is anywhere from $90,000 to $100,000. We will have, of course, benches for you to sit and reflect, look at the names. Each point of the star, because there will be a star on the concrete, we'll have a flagpole for each branch. And then off to the side, of course, we'll have the American flag, the state flag, and the POW flag, along with the donor stone. To be on the wall, you have to be from Cumberland County, which means you can be born, lived, or passed away in Cumberland County. Right now, we have approximately 500 names that have been submitted. We have 62 names from World War I to current that has been killed in action, which will go on the center stone that's there. And also, if we include Civil War from Cumberland County, we will have 88 names on there. And then the rest of the names that haven't been killed in action will be listed as we get them. So there are numerous names that's going to go on this. And there's going to be room for plenty after. We're looking at these stones will hold up to 8,000 names. So even after I'm gone, the names can still be added. I'm ready to break ground anytime, but of course we have to get the funds together, which we continue doing things. We just did a color run during Toledo Freedom Days. We've done Glow Bingo. We continue to sell shirts and Huggies and magnets. We do bake sales during the Spring Fest, in which we pull out the shirts. There's other times we pull out the shirts. So we're constantly trying to reach our goal of building this memorial. I think it will mean lots of things. For people to see their grandma or grandpa or the little 5-year-old when they turn 21 and they're thinking about service, to go realize, hey, my mom and dad's on there, or my grandma and grandpa's on there, or my brother's on there. I think for years to come, the pride will be there.
Churches have always been more than just places to worship. In many of the communities, they are the activity centers, and they serve an important function for the spiritual side of things in a local community, and then from the community side as well. We think we're kind of unique perhaps here in Neoga because we have 9 churches active in Neoga, with one of those being just a few miles outside of town. Another thing that's happened in Neoga is that several of those churches over the last several years have built some new buildings and moved into them. In each of those cases, they brought some things out of the old church, some of the altar furniture and paintings perhaps, and some things to kind of tie the past with the present and prepare for the future. One of the churches, the Presbyterian Church here in Neoga, which actually has, I think, the biggest of the stained glass windows in Neoga, has recently done a restoration project on their stained glass window to preserve it. Here at Grace United Methodist Church, when we were contemplating building this new building, we knew that we had to make room for these stained glass windows. We have 3 of them that were in the old church. And in fact, this building, the design was dictated by these stained glass windows. We had to build a building that would encompass these windows, and they're something like 12 to 14 feet tall, and so that explains the high vaulted ceiling in the sanctuary and in the gathering area and here in the fellowship hall where each of these windows is located. A scary thing happened when we were moving these windows, and that was when we got them here in the new church. We wanted them protected by a storm window or a clear plexiglass, and that was a project we were doing ourselves. We had the one that's in the east wall covered, and we had one of the 2 windows in the west wall covered, but we hadn't finished the 3rd one yet. And I was in southern Illinois driving back to Neoga, and I kept hearing these weather alerts for severe thunderstorm warnings in Shelby County, which is just to our west, and here in Cumberland County. And the closer I got to Neoga, those thunderstorm warnings turned into tornado warnings. And so I had this vision that I was going to get back here and find that this uncovered window was in shatters. But when I got back to town, this was the first place I came, and I found that the window was still intact. But what was interesting was that storm, which I think they actually declared that it was a tornado, did some severe damage on the east side, or excuse me, on the west side of town, damaged some homes there. It spared the rest of Neoga, including all of the churches and our stained glass window, but then it touched down again on the east side of town and did considerable damage to some farm buildings out there. And so, you know, people might say that's just the luck of the draw or just nature at work. We tend to think it was the hand of God protecting all of his churches, and we think maybe he was protecting that stained glass window that we hadn't been smart enough to cover up yet.
My name is Peggy Short Stuntz. I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Malin Votaw. Malin Votaw was born in 1826 in Ohio to Quaker parents. He was a millwright, and a millwright builds sawmills and grain mills. He traveled around a lot with his job from Ohio to Iowa to Greenup, Cumberland County, Illinois. And there he built a sawmill for Edward Talbot. He stayed in Greenup, and there he married Josephine Baker, who died several years later, and then he married Delilah Reese, who was the stepdaughter of Edward Talbot, the one he built the mill for in Greenup. In 1854, he and a friend, Philip Welshmer, built a sawmill near Greenup. In 1855, the railroad established the Neoga station and built a depot there. So the Civil War was just about to begin. And then it was in 1862 that Malin enlisted in Company B of the 123rd Illinois Regiment. The captain of Company B was Edward Talbot, his wife's father-in-law, or stepfather, I should say. The 123rd Illinois Regiment was famous for being part of the Wilder's Brigade. They were also called the Lightning Brigade, and they earned this nickname by rushing through a mountain gap and holding the gap at long odds. He returned home to Greenup in 1865. A short time later, he took his family to Neoga, and there he started a business, furniture and undertaking. This was a usual combination at that time because he was a carpenter and could both make furniture and coffins for burials. From Malin, the store passed to his son Lyman T. Votaw, and then to Lyman's son-in-law, W.L. Short, and was called the Short Furniture Store. And then after that, it went to W.L.'s sons, Bill Short and Jim Short. And then a later generation was my father, Bill Short's son, my brother, Bill Short. Now the Neoga store closed in 2008, but my brother Bill still has the Short Furniture Store in Litchfield, Illinois. I know that Malin was first elected president of Neoga when they were first incorporated, but he resigned to be the police magistrate. Malin, he died in 1919, and he had been married 3 times and had 12 children. I feel like he was a leader of the community. I was always impressed that he would write these articles, editorials, and send them to various newspapers. I always felt like he must have had a big ego, and maybe that's okay to accomplish things, I'm not sure. But someone who writes their own autobiography, they have to have some confidence that they have accomplished things.
We produced apples. Largest producer in apples, actually, in central Illinois, in Illinois. Hay producers, the largest. I can touch them all. We had hay. We had 5 of the biggest barns right here in Neoga, Illinois there ever was. There's still a lot of the people right here in the area that was into it. The mills, they ground the flour, the wheat, flour, and meal. One of the mills that was here first off was built back in 1859, 8 days before the Civil War started. The owner of that took a gamble, stayed in business 20 years because they produced so much. Grist mills that produced so much wheat around here, it was unbelievable. With the railroad tracks that come through here, they could ship hay, they could ship flour. It was just unbelievable, the shipping, that we weigh our own hay, weigh our own wheat, weigh our own flour and ship it out. We had the brick factory that also produced tile, field tile, as Neoga was growing. Orchards, unbelievable. 3 times we sent apples to the World's Fair from Neoga here, back in 86, 87, and 89. That's 18, 86, 87, and 89. The best we ever got was 2nd place in the 30s back then, you know, and they was making 50,000 bushels of apple come out of here. That was making money and putting it in somebody's pocket, and they was putting it back in the community here. In the 1900s, we had a lot of smaller industries coming out. Like I said, we had the Kearns coming out with their large girdle factory. The girdles, braziers, and large employer of people here, and they're still in business, but there was like 3 other smaller factories that produced undergarments also that come in. The livery stables where they serviced horses, stocked horses, was unbelievable. They housed horses, they could house cattle if they brought cattle in to put on the train. There used to be a cheese factory and a milk dispensary out there where we used to make cheese and store milk. Down the street, straight down past the city building there, we had what was always called a cold storage. And the reason it was called a cold storage is they manufactured 35 tons of ice a day. You could come to town and you could get everything you needed right here. If you couldn't, you could get on a train and go and get it real quick. I mean, you know, you was in Chicago in a short time, you was in Effingham in a short time, or Champaign in a short time. This is what we are today, and it's a nice little community, it really is.
Yes, and we're back. We are
so
partying still. Oh my
Yes,
God, I
we
tell
are.
you, these people from Cumberland County got some energy.
Now they know how to have fun, don't they?
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm having a good time. Are you having a good time? Because if you are, call us and let us know.
And what about that David Cameron? Oh my goodness. Does he look like Santa Claus or what?
A little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He is just the funnest thing. And you know, we was able to hide his little old microphone under his beard. Never did get no feedback, no nothing. I mean, that Santa Claus man is phenomenal.
You are funny. He knows a lot of history,
and everything
doesn't he?
is great. Everything's wonderful and everything's big.
Yeah, and you
in
know
Cumberland
what?
County.
A lot of the story, the pictures that was in his story are hanging in City Hall in Neoga.
Isn't that so
Yeah,
great?
it was
Oh,
so
my
cool to be able to see all that history in there, and a lot of the Malin Votaw history is over there, and the Short Furniture family history is over there as well. So lots of history to be seen in Neoga at City Hall.
Yes, there is. There is so much beauty in Cumberland County.
Hey, we want to give some shout outs tonight, but we want to give shout outs to you. So if we haven't said your name tonight, give us a call. The operators are standing by right now.
And by the way, we have already sold 58 DVDs.
Yes, 58 DVDs. That's awesome.
Isn't that fabulous?
It is
I love
awesome.
it.
So let's give some shout outs and say thank you to these folks.
So Jean from Toledo, Stanley from Neoga, Warren from Effingham.
I've got Jill from Lerna. I have Nancy from Toledo, Evelyn from Toledo, Debbie from Mattoon, and Gary from Neoga, who wants to give a shout out to his mom, I believe, Evelyn Starwalt.
And then here's the sweetest thing. Betty called my husband and she said, I've lived in Greenup for the past 17 years and it will be the last place that I will ever live because it's the best place I've ever lived. I've made a lot of great friends here. So Betty, we love you. We're so glad that you love Greenup. We love Cumberland County.
I tell you, I don't know what's going on back here, but
I know,
something's
they're
going
so
on with the
rowdy.
phone. Back here, Marlene Van Meter's on the phone. She's cracking people up. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to
They're
hearing
selling
who's on the phone.
DVDs.
Yeah. So I don't know who's on there with her, but we're going to hear from them soon. So we've got 2 phone operators busy right now. We've got 4 available. We want you to give them a call. That's Jeannie Cruz right there. You know what? Jeannie Cruz is related, or was related, to my 2nd grade teacher in Casey. I grew up in Casey, just a short distance from Cumberland County, and she was my very favorite teacher. I loved y'all, but she was my very favorite teacher in 2nd grade, Juanita Katie.
I love that.
Loved her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, so I got some more history to share. I'm going to talk to Linda here in just a second. I found out she knows somebody I worked with in high school too. She knows him real well.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on over
See,
here and
Linda
talk
knows
to her for
everything
just a
and
minute.
everybody.
Yeah, so Linda, I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. I'm going to move this microphone a little bit closer. So Linda is with the Historical Museum.
Cumberland County Historical Museum.
Yeah, and that's where we checked folks in to tell stories down in the Greenup area, and then we went across the street and we recorded them at the Military Museum, which is a story coming up with Jeannie Cruz. But the Historical Museum, boy, it's got lots of stuff in there.
We like to save our history because the kids and everybody they should know and like to know our history.
So if people want to find out how to find you or what your open hours are, do you have a Facebook page
We
for more
are
information?
Facebook, Cumberland County Historical Society, and we also have a web page, Cumberland County History, and our hours, numbers, everything's right there.
Right there. And you've got the train depot with
The train depot.
Yeah, it's in there too. So for all those people out there who love trains and railroads, and a lot of these towns are here because of the railroads, you can go down there and you can learn all about them. So here's the thing. I want to give a shout out and a hello to your son, because her son, John, hi John, I used to work with you at the IGA in Casey, and I didn't find out that you were her son until tonight. So how cool is that? Everything
That's neat.
comes full circle, doesn't it?
Right.
So that's so cool. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight, Linda, and I'm going to give it back to you, Wanda Kay.
Oh my goodness, this is so fun. And you know what? One of the stories that you just saw was Jim Whitaker and telling about the Neoga churches. I think there are 9 churches in Neoga. Now that is a church on every corner just about. So you know what? I loved his story about the beautiful stained glass windows, and that was one of the places where we actually went and filmed our stories, was there in the beautiful church there in Neoga. And oh my goodness, those windows were just beautiful to behold. As we would sit in that church and the sun would shine through the windows It was just absolutely amazing.
Lots of churches in Neoga. When you
9 churches.
when you drive through, there's a sign right there that illustrates all of them.
Absolutely,
So,
yes.
also I wanted to talk about Tanya Craig's Veterans Memorial.
yes.
What a cool story that was to be able
Yes,
to
it
honor the
was.
veterans in Cumberland County. And they're doing so with the Military Museum, and there's lots of veterans. I think there's one here with us tonight. I think he's Marlene Van Meter and her family, and the story that we heard at the beginning of the show. So lots and lots of history.
Tanya has such a passion. She means to get this done.
Yeah.
Because she wants to honor the veterans, and I think that is just worth, supporting her in that, and just, encouraging her to continue on, because what a great thing to honor our veterans.
Absolutely, and we want you to continue helping support WEIU by calling in tonight and getting a copy of the DVD. One copy is $75, 2 or more are $60 each, and you can call the number at the bottom of your screen, or you can go online at weiu.net. We are streaming tonight, so folks outside the area, we're hoping that you're watching and enjoying the show tonight. We're streaming on Facebook too. We had a little glitch earlier, but we're back on. We've been on for a while. So if you're watching, be sure to share with your friends and family outside the area that they can tune in and watch these stories, and then they can share them on Facebook, and make sure that other people will call and give us a call to get a DVD as well.
Yes, please pick up the phone right now. Don't hesitate. We want to have another phone blitz. That's what we want.
That would be so
this
cool.
place came alive when we had a phone blitz.
People, when you call in, you give us energy. We've always talked about this, the energy that is in the studio tonight, the energy coming from the storytellers, the energy coming from the phones. It all comes right here, and we want to thank you, and we want to thank all the people that are here tonight, because they're working so hard for Cumberland County.
They really are. Yes.
I'll tell you, someone else who works hard is Peggy Short Stunts over there. She's with her mother. Helen Short is still here, and Peggy, she is a historian now. I got to tell you, that Malin Votaw story and the pictures and all the history that was behind there. When I was in City Hall in Neoga, there are books like this thick on Malin Votaw, and it's all because of her, because she's the historian. And there's people like this in Cumberland County that really respect local history, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we are your public broadcasting station, bringing it to you because of your support and you calling in tonight and allowing us to continue to do this.
That's right. So please support WEIU so that we can continue telling these wonderful stories. Oh my goodness. And that sweet 105-year-old Helen Short, can you believe she is still in the house? She's still moving and grooving. I'm telling you, what a delight. She is such a joy. And that quick sense of humor, and she is just amazing, ain't she? She really is.
You know what? Something just came to mind, because I think I'm getting a little hungry. I'm looking at all this food over here. I didn't mention somebody. The studio also gave cookies over there. So whoever gave the cookies outside the studio, they were great. But I'll tell you what, all those cookies, all that food.
It looks like somebody's chowed down on those cookies.
That's okay.
I
That's all
love
right.
it. This is great.
Let me tell you some stories that are coming up in the next break. We're going to hear about the Cumberland County Fair, the Toledo Democrat, Johnstown, which John Barger told. Did you tell that because your name's John? Always wanted to know that. No? All right, just wondered. We're going to hear about George Lewis Jr. and Burnham Neal. So those are some wonderful stories coming our way.
They really, really are. Just amazing stories. And that Billy Chambers, she is something else. She has got a quick sense of humor, doesn't she?
She does.
Really
And
she's
one
busy.
Of the news, yes, that's one of the
so
newspapers down in Cumberland County, but they cover the entire county, and that's what you're going to hear about.
Yes.
So right now, we want you to give us a call. We've got 3 people on the phone, 3 people who can take your call. And we want to be able to say thank you to whoever it is that calls in. So this is your opportunity right now. Do we have what is Marlene? Marlene, did you have a funny story that we needed to share?
Marlene is so cute.
I told my brother, Daniel Joseph Flood, to make sure at every elevator that he goes to, every farmer he sees, that they can order a DVD online.
There you go. Yes. That's what we like.
Oh my!
All
what
farmers.
a cheerleader!
And there's a bunch of them
it.
in Cumberland County.
I'm telling you what, and these storytellers are such cheerleaders, really.
Yes.
They believe in WEIU because their story is being told.
Yeah.
And their beautiful history is being shared with the world tonight.
You know, when we were doing these stories with the storytellers, the things that seemed to kind of intertwine throughout all the stories was agriculture, military, family, music. I mean, there's lots of different things, and just the uniqueness of the area. I mean, here's something unique. The entire county doesn't have one stoplight. Not one.
Isn't that amazing?
There's only one city in the entire county, Neoga. The rest are villages and townships. And that is the uniqueness that we can bring to you tonight. Exactly. And you will want to have a copy of this DVD to archive that, because you can share this history.
Exactly.
This is something that you don't come across just
Right.
anywhere in the United States.
History
and it's right
that
here.
will go on forever.
Yes,
I love
here.
this. And,
it's
WEIU
yes,
is the reason.
That's
I love
right.
that.
But we're here because you support us. And we couldn't do it without the support with the people in here and the people sitting at home watching too. So give us a call right now. The number's at the bottom of your screen. We just want you to pick it up, and we want to hear from you.
Pick it up and call us.
Yes, so we can give you a shout out. So we're going to get back to the show here in a minute. Like I said, the fair, the newspaper, a town that used to be, some people still live there, but the town really isn't there anymore. George Lewis Jr., more military, and Burnham Neal. You won't want to miss these. So we're going back to the show. We'll see you soon.
The first Cumberland County Fair was here in Greenup, and it was in 1858 that it was organized, and it was located, would be in the village of Greenup, just north. And then it was there for 2 years, and they always had the fair in October back then. And then they decided that they would move the fair to Prairie City, which is the county seat, but now it is called Toledo. And it was just about half a mile or mile out of town on about 10 acres. And it was there that for approximately from 1860 to 1888, whenever they moved it back to Greenup to the present location. It was noted that Frank James did the horse racing, and they paid him $100. And how they was able to locate this, they went back in the old secretary books and was able to see that that's what he had got paid. Cumberland County Fair has always been noted for good horse racing. And I was told by my dad in the early years that when he was a kid, that his mom and dad would load the kids in the wagon on early Saturday morning. And his mom would fry chicken and fix stuff, and they would head for the fairground. And they would spend the day at the fair, and that's when he really decided that he really enjoyed the fair. And my dad was John Kemper, which served every place on the fairground that he possibly could serve, and he was president and vice president, and he was honored for 43 years of service that he had spent on the fairground. What really excited me when you came down over the hill and you could see all of the carnival rides, all the bright lights and everything, and it was just a thrill to think, oh, I just want to really enjoy this, because back then the fair started on Sunday, and the carnival, everything was, in set and ready to go. I think that people just really enjoy it, really enjoy it. And businesses in town would close at 1 o'clock and even the courthouse in Toledo would close at noon, so everybody could attend the Cumberland County Fair. And it's for kids. That's the main thing of the fair is, your sheep, your cattle, your hogs. You have people bringing those in and they're judged, and you have junior shows and stuff and horse shows, and I mean, it's for the kids. That's what I've always felt like, that the fair is for the kids to enjoy.
Toledo was founded on June 10th, 1854. So 3 years later is when the Toledo Democrat started. The Toledo Democrat is the oldest business in Cumberland County, and it was founded in 1857. We purchased it on January 1st of 1999, but I have worked there since 1987. When we bought it in '99, we had 1 computer, and now we have 5, 2 commercial printers, a fax machine. We did not have fax. We did not have internet. We had rotary phones. Everything is digital now. Even our newspaper is digital. I used to have to paste it up by hand. Now we do it all on the computer. We email it down. I pick it up. And before I had to paste it up, we had a wax machine, we had a dark room, and so everything has totally changed. The Democrat, we wanted to change the name. And in our newspaper, it says politically independent because of Democrat. But it's in our contract, we can't change the name because that's what their father named it. We cover the whole county. We are the only newspaper that covers the whole county. The most important thing is traffic, realty, deaths, and they love the board meetings. We cover Jewett, Neoga, Greenup, the county. People appreciate the paper. I think even the younger generation they get it. And every time we get a new postmaster or a new worker at Toledo, it doesn't take them very long. They realize when we get those papers down there, you best be putting them in the box because everybody in Toledo wants their newspaper. Our motto is, if you're good to the community will give back, and the community has been great. So when we bought it, we had 600 subscribers, now we have 1,900. But now the younger generation likes it because of the sports. And I have a lot of parents that when their kids go to college, they buy them a 6-month subscription for when they go to college. And of course, these other kids are from big cities and they can't believe that this stuff's in the local newspaper because the big cities cover the politics and we don't cover any of that. We just cover Cumberland County, hometown news, what's important to people in Cumberland County.
Johnstown is the oldest community in Cumberland County. In fact, it's older than the county itself. It was founded in 1827. At that time, it was part of Clark County. Later, it was part of Coles County. And finally, in 1843, it was part of Cumberland County. Johnstown is located 3 3/4 miles due south of Lerna. John Tully placed a grist mill on Muddy Creek in 1827. Later, he built a horse-powered grist mill that could be used in low water times. He also had a still, and he made whiskey. Tully stayed there until 1837. He sold out to a Bob Dixon and a Walter Patterson, who called the town Sheffield. Alfred Alexander purchased the land from Dixon and Patterson in 1846, and with the assistance of his son John, started to lay out the town. It's named after John Alexander, and the name has stuck since then. At that time, Johnstown was a significant community. However, it did not get a railroad as Lerna, Janesville, and Trilla did, and did not have a major highway constructed to it. Its heyday was in the 1860s to the early 1880s. At that time, the railroad started coming to the other communities. In 1884, there was a store, several shops, 2 to 3 members of the professions, which I would interpret to be doctors. Although Johnstown is not incorporated and does not have many businesses, in recent years, Johnstown has had somewhat of a rebirth. There are a number of new houses, all built near Muddy Creek in the wooded areas. Until about 5 years ago, there was a Johnstown celebration that happened each year around the 1st of June. It is the oldest community in Cumberland County. A lot of people, even in Cumberland County, don't know that Johnstown exists.
So George Lewis Jr. was my grandfather, who hailed from Cumberland County. Him and his wife raised their 8 children here in just north of Greenup in a little burb referred to as Timothy. One of 4 boys from the Lewis family, he was drafted at the young age of 22. From Scott Air Force Base, he was sent down to Fort Bragg, where he then joined the 101st Airborne B Battalion, and he was a guider pilot. From there, they were sent overseas, which was a 45-day boat ride. My grandfather was shot down in Holland in the Battle of the Bulge, and he likes to tell people that he took longer to get out of the Army than it did to get into. He actually had the bullet, which he was shot down with, inside of his body for about 3 months before they did surgery to remove it. He did receive a Purple Heart for this, and he also received the bullet, which was in him. He had told the doctor whatever it was that was in him he wanted when it was over. So after the surgery and he received the bullet, he was sent back, discharged to Topeka, Kansas, where he was awarded his Purple Heart. From there, then he came back to Cumberland County. George left us in February of 2012 after a long, wonderful years, many of them here within Cumberland County. The stories of U.S. history and how it impacted not only family, local history, but to be able to share that, I think, is more important than anything you would ever learn from a history textbook. But we had somebody within our family who had served our country, served proudly. He's our hero.
The man was extremely generous, a very humble man, as you can be with that amount of money. You know, he didn't flaunt it. He was always a true gentleman, and you know, in every sense of the word. May the 15th of 1922, Burnham was born to Edgar and Loran Neal. Burnham's dad started the Toledo Oil Company in 1925, and Burnham's mother was a school teacher in Toledo. And Burnham then in 1945 took over ownership of Toledo Oil Company. He moved his his office to a service station right there in town, and finally changed the name from Toledo Oil Company to Neal Oil Company. At that time, he kept going out and purchasing more gas stations and ended up with more than he could handle at one little location. So he moved his office across the street to a vacant Studebaker dealership, which had been run by his dad earlier from 45 through the 50s, and ended up, he opened a tire shop there in that office to have warehouses. At about the same time, he started Ben Tire as a wholesale business. Started purchasing more stores. The first store he put under the Neal Tire and Auto Service name was Mattoon. Then he went, the next one was Toledo, then Charleston, and that was become known as his Triangle Store. He went ahead then and kept purchasing more and more and more stores and locations until he ended up with a time that he had over 30 stores in operations, and he had five warehouses that he had managed, and at the time was employing over 250 employees. Then he started his Neal Foundation. Burnham's idea was to give back to the area and the community to the people that had supported him. He was very, very instrumental in starting at the start of Lakeland College, and he contributed kept on contributing to it. He has a room there named Neal Hall, and he went on to Sarah Bush, which was very, very instrumental in donating to Sarah Bush. Of course, then he went on to Eastern, and we all know about Eastern. We had the Welcome Center that started to come back into Toledo area with his giving. He and Rosemary donated the ground there to where the Life Center is located. They also have a park there in Toledo named Neal Park. We have, last but not least there, we have the Y that was funded through personal and his foundation, and they're still supporting that. It was something that he had thought about and wanted. It'd been, even before his passing, it was a dream of his. Toledo is so much better off with all that Burnham has done. He's so proud of his town. I saw on one of his little logos that said, "Neal Tire, we do it right." I want to say one thing. Burnham, I hope I've done this right for you.
Yes, wonderful stories. Boy, those are some great stories of
Really
historical
good
value
stories.
there.
Absolutely. And Sarah, don't you just love her sweet little heartfelt story talking about her sweet grandpa?
I do.
Oh,
I tell you what, that was a great story. We
it
had a little
was.
struggle getting through it, but you know what? I'm glad that we were able to honor your grandpa, Sarah. You were a part of the Mattoon program with us, and you wanted to be a part of this because you know that this is a way to archive value, and what a great way to honor your grandpa.
Oh, and you did the story so well, Sarah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
you did very well.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put a challenge out there for all the people who know Sarah, because Sarah works at the Y. I know there's a lot of people with the Y. If you know Sarah, respect her enough to call in and tell her thank you by getting a copy of that DVD
That's
tonight.
right. That's exactly right. I
Yeah,
love
honor
that.
her grandpa and tell her thank
Absolutely.
you.
What a great...
There we are right
Here
there.
we
Thank you
go.
very much.
Thank
we'll give you a
so
shout out
much.
soon. So we got shout outs to
We
give, right?
do,
Okay, you
absolutely.
start.
Well, Bill in Neoga and Barb in Neoga and Kathy in, is it Sigel?
Sigel.
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 See, you can tell I ain't from around here.
Well, I can tell it by listening to your voice,
What?
honey, but it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
But
Hey,
I'm having fun.
Yes, you are, and I'm having a great time with you. That's why I could joke with you.
That's exactly right.
So, hey, I've got some thank yous. I've got Daniel from Toledo. I've got Shirley from Toledo and Sharon from Mattoon. And then I also have an anonymous donor who wants to donate in honor of all the law enforcement in Cumberland County, both past and present. So
I
thank you
love
very much
that.
for that.
Oh, I love that. Very nice.
Awesome. So we heard about the fair.
Yes.
Lots of fun to have there. We heard about the Toledo Democrat. We want to say thank you to all the newspapers in Cumberland County. The Toledo Democrat was a part of our show tonight. We want to thank you, Billy Chambers, for being a part of our champion group, being one of our champions, as well as a storyteller. So
And John Barger.
And John Barger.
Talking about
We'll talk
John's
to him in just a
town.
minute.
Oh my goodness.
And
he had so much information. It was just wonderful, and he didn't want to leave anything out.
No.
So that was great.
No, and the Burnham Neal story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gene Nichols. What a story.
Yeah, and
you
he was
can
very
just
sincere.
feel his heart in that story. I thought, wow, when he says, "I hope I did you right," I thought, my goodness, honey, you hit that ball out of the park.
Absolutely.
You did it perfect.
So those are some more great stories that you can get and you can watch anytime. You can share with your family, your friends. The holidays are coming up. We mentioned that a little earlier. You'll want to get a copy of the DVD to share. So 2 or more are $60. 1 is $75. So why not get 2 or more?
Well, why not get 3 or 4 and give them to your friends and family?
Yes, absolutely. Or you could meet Marlene's challenge. All the farmers in Cumberland County can
Right.
call. All the
Absolutely.
soreheads in Toledo. Larry put that challenge out. So I'll tell you what, we got lots of people we got challenges from, and we got lots of operators that are standing by to take your call
They
right now.
need to get busy. They want to get busy. They want to talk to you. So please call right now. The number's on your screen. Don't hesitate. Call and talk to these wonderful storytellers.
All right, this is the time to call because we've got, I think, 4 more stories to share, and then we're going to close up the show. But right now, we haven't had a phone blitz yet.
I know.
But we want one. We know it's late, but we have people hanging with us in the studio, and we
right.
know you're sitting there right there in your chair, comfy and relaxed, but go ahead and pick that cell phone up and just dial the number at the bottom of your
That's
screen.
right.
That's all you have to do. We want to ring the bell, and we want to give you a shout out on TV.
Yes, we do. So please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone and call us right now and get your DVD of this
Absolutely.
wonderful, rich history of Cumberland County.
And once again, we're going to put it up there on your screen. 1 copy is $75. 2 or more are $60 each. So we want you to give us a call right now. You can go online and donate as well if you want to. But we would love to hear from you tonight in the studio. I've got one of our storytellers here, John Barger, and he told the story, John's Town. So you used to live around that area, right?
1.25 miles away from downtown Johnstown.
Yeah?
That's why I was interested in it. It was quite a significant community at one time. If you go through Johnstown today, you just have to know where you're at.
Not as much there today, right?
No, there's houses, but no stores, no businesses.
Yeah.
2 churches, but
it's still
it was
important.
a significant community. It's actually older than Cumberland County itself.
Wow, that's some great history.
1827.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that you told that story tonight, and I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a part of the show. Wanda Kay, back to you.
I love talking about all of those wonderful memories that all of the storytellers have. And you know, all of them mention in every little town there's a church, or there's 2 or 3 churches, and I love that. In Hazeldale, there's a church on each corner, and so you can't miss it. You can go to church. If you don't want to go to church on one side of the road, go to the church on the other side of the road. I love that beautiful history of family and churches in the Cumberland County area.
Lots of history being told tonight by 31 storytellers. We have 30 stories, but like I said, we had 2 and the radio show story earlier. But we've got 4 more stories coming your way. Something that I've noticed throughout this is not only do the storytellers and champions of Cumberland County like to party with us tonight, but they love to have festivals.
They do.
They have fairs, they have festivals, they have tent shows back in the day.
They do.
They're still carrying on those traditions. It doesn't matter what part of the county you go to. You're able to celebrate down there through music, through rides and food. We've got lots of food here tonight. I mean, these people know how to put on a good show.
They really do.
Yeah. So we want you to call in right now. Right there you can see somebody's taking an order for a DVD. We know it's late, but we got 4 more stories coming your way. You can give us a call right now. We only have 1 phone operator on the phone. The number's at the bottom of your screen, and you can go online too at weiu.net. If you want to, you can message us on Facebook. We've got people who are standing by. I've got Everett Lau over here. He is our social Facebook media, I tell you what, guru is what he is. And he is
He's
amazing.
A sweetheart.
And you know what else? He won an Emmy. We've won our 17th Emmy now for Newswatch, and he's one of them right there. Turn around and say hi.
Pretty amazing.
And Vince. Vince won one
amazing.
too, and this is what we do. We allow opportunities for our students, so thank you for being here tonight, Everett. We appreciate all that you do, as well as all the students who are here tonight. We appreciate the School of Communication and Journalism and the faculty and the staff and all the WEIU staff here tonight as well. So we're here for you. We're working hard for Cumberland County. They're working hard for you. They're sharing all kinds of stories on behalf of where you live, work,
it was
and play.
the sweetest thing just a few minutes ago. Some of them had me cornered over there, and they said, okay, we're working on a follow-up. We've already got more stories to tell.
Right, that's
I'm
what
like,
Bob
oh
Blade
my
told me when he
goodness.
walked in. He goes, we've got about 4 sequels planned.
That's right. They're ready.
That's funny. But you know what? You get to be a part of this show, and then you're like, you know what? We should have told that.
Exactly.
We should have talked about this. And that's okay.
I
We
love
may
that.
come back around, but
That's
right now, tonight is what's important.
It is. So please call us right now. Get your DVD for $75. You know what? That's a steal, isn't it?
It is. It's a good
telling,
bargain.
because so much history and so many wonderful storytellers. So 2 or more DVDs are $60. Please pick up the phone and call us and join in the fun. Join in the party.
Join the family.
That's
Hey,
right.
there's another phone call. Yay! Bell scared Jeannie, but go ahead and answer that. Hey, we're going. Speaking of festivals, we're going to hear from Larry Stoltz again
Yes,
in the
we
next
are.
segment
Oh,
about
he's
the
such a great
I
storyteller.
know, about the Toledo Fall and Spring Festival. Charlie McKinney, Early Neoga Railroads.
Our sweet Charlie. He wasn't feeling very well, so he couldn't be here with us tonight, but I'm sure he's watching.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. We met
He
with him
was.
early on during this whole project. Vivian Hallett talks about 4-H. and Jeannie Cruz, who's right there on the phone taking an order for DVDs.
Oh, yes.
She talks about the military museum.
Well, she takes it home, doesn't she?
She
just
does.
takes these beautiful stories home with the military museum.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she's just is a great storyteller.
All of our storytellers have done a wonderful job on behalf of Cumberland County, and they're still celebrating with us tonight. They're smiling. We're energized. We love doing this, and we love doing this for you, and we love it when you call in and give us some energy. We know that your support matters because we wouldn't be able to do this without you. So they're still calling. Keep those phones ringing.
As the membership manager for WEIU, I encourage you, please pick up the phone and call. We want a phone blitz one last time tonight before we leave this place. You know what? I love being the membership manager for WEIU because we are a family here at WEIU. And you know what the greatest thing about our family is?
There's always room.
Always room for one more. So pick up the phone and join the family of WEIU.
We want you to be a part of us. We are your local public broadcasting station, and public broadcasting matters. We bring home local history like nobody else can. We are not a commercial station. We rely on your funding, the funding from viewers like you, and we thank you for that. And we thank you after every single program. We thank you as many times as we can because it really does matter. We wouldn't be able to do this without your support, so please continue to call tonight and give us your support. We're going to get back to the show here in a minute. We've got 4 more stories to share with you, and then we'll wrap up the show. So is there anything else you want to say to them before we go?
I just want to tell all of you I love you, and I'm so glad that you got to watch these wonderful stories tonight. Keep watching. You know what? It's going to air some more times over the weekend, and so be looking for it to pop up again, and please pick up the phone and order your DVD.
That's right. We'll give you more details and 4 more stories. We'll see you in a bit.
In 1948, our community decided to do a celebration. The celebration was of our local physician, Dr. Rhodes. Dr. Rhodes has been in Toledo for many, many years, probably back in the 20s and the 30s. A group in Toledo decided when we celebrate that they would have a button sold or that would represent each child that Dr. Rhodes delivered the baby. So they decided to have a parade, a festival type thing, and so that's how it started. It was a Dr. Rhodes Day. Then it just got to the habit, what are we going to do next year? This is all a festival in the fall. It was back in mid-October at that time. The festival's held on the north side of the square, and it was that way until 1955. Back in the 50s and the 60s and 70s, it was very competitive of each organization putting together their best float, their best idea. Back in 1957, the first year we came back out of after the streets was torn up. 3 men went to the state of Illinois County Fair Convention, and they was looking for a carnival to come to Toledo. They thought a carnival would be really nice. They met a couple up in Springfield, Hub and Winnie Lures. They bring some of the major rides because they have grown so much. They play major county and state fairs all over the United States, but they still come to Toledo. 1988, at the end of the year, they approached me and said, Larry, we've got to change our date. We come to you in the fall, but we go right by you on Interstate 70 in the spring. We would like to move it to the 3rd weekend in May. We agreed. We grew tremendously in revenue, which gave us an opportunity to spend more money on entertainment, increase prize money in the parade, and set aside a little bit for the next year in our budget. It has been successful. New generations are stepping up to take over, and that's a blessing in my heart to see this younger generation say, I'll help. Community involvement is one of the prides of our festival. One year, one of our themes, small town proud. And that's what Toledo is, small town proud.
Most people would say that the railroad was the reason there's a town. The Illinois Central Railroad especially brought so many people into this area that would have had a very hard time to get here, in other words. And the Illinois Central owned, along here, they owned, like every other section of land, there are sections 640 acres of ground, you know, a mile square. And that's how they got people to move in. And of course, if they didn't have people living along the railroad to ride the trains or to shift things on them, they didn't have any business. So the town itself was founded, or I suppose recorded at Toledo, the county seat, in 1856. And the town itself sat about a quarter-mile south, down where the cemetery is now, the Yoga Memorial Cemetery. And the railroad, like I say, was the Illinois Central Railroad. It was the first land grant railroad in the United States, and like they said, Lincoln was a lawyer for them. And then in the late 1870s, early 80s, the Toledo, St. Louis, and Kansas City, which was a narrow gauge line, came down through here. And the Nickel Plate Railroad bought it in 1926. Say someone like back in those days, the train, when the railroads came through, if you wanted to go to Mattoon, well, if you rode a horse or took a buggy or whatever, if you could even get through in the wintertime or the spring and all the mud, you went on a train. It was just that, and pretty quick trip. Even if it took 30, 40, 50 minutes, it was still a easy way to get there and back, you know. And there was a gentleman named Dudley Keene Johnson that came here from southern Indiana, and he was a merchant and built a cabin, and he had a store. At the time he came here, he had accumulated 6,000 acres of land. My paternal grandmother, her name was Mary Jane Hines McKinney, and they came here in 1865 from Switzerland County, Indiana, which is right on the Ohio River about. They always told a story that when they crossed the river at Vincennes, Indiana in April of 1865, and they talked about getting word that Lincoln had been assassinated. There were probably 8 to 10 families from the Switzerland County, Indiana that came up in this area. But I wonder if Dudley Keene Johnson, because he owned all this land and everything, and he had lived in the county right north of Switzerland County, which I believe was Ripley County, Indiana. And it made me wonder if he didn't, you know, entice people to come here because of the land and the place and everything.
In the 50s and 60s, there were clubs throughout the county in all kinds of little burgs. Livestock ones as well as home economics clubs. And until in the 1970s, primarily it was boys clubs and girls clubs. The girls could join the livestock clubs if they were going to show livestock. At the end of the summer, it is a wonderful experience of taking your animals to the 4-H fair. And at that time, until about 5 years ago, we were at the Cumberland County Fair. Cumberland County 4-H livestock show at the Cumberland County Fair, and now we're having it up at Coles County, is a time anticipation of how you have done raising your livestock and breeding and so on. 4-H is not just projects, it's community service also. Illinois Fight Hunger is one where we package food for individuals that may need assistance. We make lioness blankets for the Department of Children and Family Services for at-risk children. 4-H is a learning experience as well as a very much a teaching, because many of our individuals have gone on, 4-Hers have gone on to have wonderful careers. Chris Clover is our mascot, and Chris Clover is one that helps to promote 4-H. We have him pictured with Kevin Orbit. We have him going into parades, and we have him going to schools to encourage other children to join 4-H and learn how to make the best better.
Well, I have a pretty wonderful story about this building. This cost $8,000 to build, which is remarkable in itself. A gift from M.U. Carnegie, who was the steel magnate, of course, from Pennsylvania. We were chosen because of the fact that we guaranteed we'd have an ideal site for it, and we would guarantee $800 a year to maintain this building. So we were very fortunate of all the applicants in all of the villages and towns that we were chosen. The library did stay here until the year 2000. The library sold some period of time later. We had raised $40,000. For the Historical Society, our interest was preserving the building and all of the memories we had right here. We didn't want anything to disappear. For a number of months and years, actually, we rented it, and we found out we weren't landlords. We weren't a good antique mall. So it became important to do something else with the building. We finally decided, after we got possession of this, that we were going to have a big celebration. Well, in 2004 was the 100-year anniversary of this building. And so we had the opening of the cornerstone. Of course, we were all anticipating. We didn't know what was going to be in those stones. Well, it turned out to be just a bunch of facts. They were in copper boxes embedded in the stones. We also had the grand opening then to turn it into a military museum after a lot of discussion of what to do with this. And it seemed like the fairest thing to do was do something for the county. In our opinion, we wanted all the towns from Neoga, Jewett, Toledo, Greenup, all the communities to come and share their soldiers' histories, memories, and sacrifices. So we started the renovations in 2008. It took us 2 years to do it. We had to hire a lot of things done that naturally required an expert, like plumbing and wiring. But most of the things were done by all of us volunteers. That in itself is something that tells you what kind of community we live in. It's a pretty wonderful place that wanted to honor their soldiers. And we have all kinds of things here. We start with the French and Indian War, Spanish-American War. We go all the way around the building in a circle through all of the wars that we've had, and the families came. We have so much things that have been given and shared with us. They wanted to preserve their soldiers' history.
Yeah. Woo! We have had a good time tonight.
Yes, we have. Oh my goodness, keep ringing the phones.
Yes, keep ringing those. We have 74 DVDs that we have
75.
orders for. 75?
75, yes.
Yeah! Woo! We want to get to 80. We can
Yes,
get to
we
80
do.
and then on up if we
Oh, my
want to.
goodness.
We're going to be here with you for the next few minutes. Right now is your opportunity. Get those phones ringing right now.
But
This is your chance.
we need you to pick up the phone and call. $75 will get you one DVD, 2 or more for $60.
Yes!
It's right there on your
There's
screen.
one.
Woo!
Come
There's
on,
one.
help us reach 80
Come
before the
on.
night's done. We
That's
can
right.
do this.
Yes,
John,
we can.
yes. We got 2 phones. We got 4 more operators standing by. We want you to call right now. Give us that phone list
Yes.
before the night's over.
Absolutely.
We want you to call right now.
Yes, pick up the phone and call us right now and get your DVD. These stories are amazing, and you want to keep
Yes, there's another one. Keep
There
them
we
coming.
go. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, let's give
Love
some
it.
shout outs because as they come in, I want you to give us
Absolutely.
the names as they come in so we
Yes,
can give
as
them
quickly
shout outs.
as they come in.
Okay, you give
We
yours.
have Dale from Greenup. He bought a DVD. Madeline from Greenup. Lenora from Jewett.
Yeah, there you go. I also have some thank yous for Frank from Greenup
Phone's
and Pat
ringing
from
again.
Lorna. We are having a great time. Keep
Yes,
those
we
phones
are.
ringing. How many we got busy right now? 3 of them. 3. I don't know who she's talking to, but she is a hoot, I got to tell you.
She is just cracking me up.
So funny. We had
love
some
it.
great stories there. Larry Stoltz told the story of the Toledo Festival, Charlie McKinney about the Neoga Railroads, 4-H, the Military Museum. What great stories we have had to share tonight. We want to thank all of the people from Cumberland County. We want you to thank them by calling right now. We're just about ready to close the show, but right now is your chance.
And we want to thank you for calling tonight, for not letting us down and for not letting these storytellers down. $75 for 1 DVD, 2 or more are $60 each. So since that's such a steal, I think you ought to get 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, that sounds like a good idea, Wanda Kay. I have Jeannie Cruz sitting here with me, and she's the one I talked about earlier that was related to my 2nd grade teacher, Wanda Katie, or Juanita Katie. Yes. And see, I got Wanda Kay's in my mind. So we were able to record stories in Greenup at the Military Museum, and what a nice museum that is.
It is. It's very beautiful. We're very proud of it, and we really want everyone to enjoy it and be a part of it that can be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's right across the street from the Historical Museum down there where Linda Matherly is. So we thank you for being a part of the show. And I also want to thank you because we sparked a little bit of interest, as I mentioned earlier. She's interviewing people to carry on the history of Cumberland County outside of this program. So I think that's really cool. Thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. We enjoy doing it. We want every soldier's story told that wants to share it.
Absolutely.
We want the whole county, Jewett and Neoga and Toledo and Greenup.
everything
we
in
welcome
between.
everybody to be in there with us.
Absolutely, and that's why we're here tonight, is to honor all the military, honor all of Cumberland County, and I want you to call in and show your respect on behalf of them and get a DVD. There you go, answer the phone. Wanda Kay, back to you.
Woo, yes, come on, join in on the fun. Pick up your phone and call us right now and get your DVD and talk to these wonderful storytellers. My goodness, they're over here jumping up and down. They're cheering. You can get a DVD for $75. That's 1, 2 or more are $60 each. So since they're so cheap at $60 each, get you 3 or 4 or 5. Look at those phone operators. Oh my goodness.
All right, yes, that is awesome. Woo-hoo! I knew that this was going to happen. People wait until the show's over because they're like, hey, now I got to call.
We got a phone blitz,
yes.
baby.
Do we?
Yeah!
I didn't know that. Yes. Way to go, Cumberland County.
Ken, I think you rock.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we all rock tonight. Cumberland County, you rock. You made our night. You gave us a phone blitz.
My goodness.
How fun is this?
We love you all so much. We're just so glad that you spent this evening with us and made it just the best evening because you called and you supported this story. You supported these wonderful Cumberland County people. Look at Millie Lee. She's on that phone and she's taking her an order.
They're still ringing.
Yes.
I love That's awesome. We're going to hang with you as long as you are calling in because we want to make sure you get those DVDs.
Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much. Really. We want to thank you, our viewers, because you have really come through for us and made this first experience for me just the best.
Yeah,
oh my
it's been fun, hasn't it?
It just don't get any better than this.
No,
I'm
it
having
doesn't.
the time of my life. I love being here. I love working at WEIU. I love being a membership manager. I love talking to you all, and I love the camera.
I love your energy, Wanda Kay. It's been so much fun tonight with you.
It's been a blast.
I love that smile on your
Oh,
face.
my
And the folks from Cumberland County brought this special night for you, and this is your first time of many.
Oh my goodness, I know it. I'm excited about the next story.
I know.
I'm excited about the sequels.
Yeah, no kidding. That's what Bob Blade said. We may have sequels coming up.
That's right, absolutely.
We have one phone operator standing by, speaking of Bob Blade, right there. If you want to give us a phone blitz again, call him.
Yes, come on, pick up.
Come on.
Luke from Greenup, we're so glad that you called. Thank you so much.
So happy that so many people are calling in tonight.
This is so great.
This is it. Hey, we have a phone blitz again. Yay!
I love it. This is great.
This is
County.
We are all
I
busy in
love
here.
it.
I'll tell you, you ought to see the people. You will see them in a little bit, but they're over there. They're cheerleaders. They're clapping. They're jumping up and down. We've got people behind the scenes. They are having a time of their life tonight, celebrating Cumberland County.
You know, I loved going to Cumberland County because it reminded me of going back home to Virginia.
You told me that many times driving through there.
I'm telling you, going down those country roads and talking to people that are just so real. I just love that about the Cumberland County people. Everybody's just so down to earth and just so real. They either like you or they don't, you know? But the thing of it is, most of them like you. You know, I think they was a little skeptical of us maybe when we was coming into town in that big old rig we was driving.
Yeah, we drove the
you
live
was
truck.
driving.
Yeah.
And I
Got a
mean,
little
I
scary
think
there going under
Oh
that.
my goodness. Ken had me out checking to see if we could fit under a bridge once, and I
Down
mean,
there
it
in
was like,
Greenup.
it was just crazy. And so they were a little bit skeptical of us, I think. What
I
are
think
them
we,
two chicks
I
doing?
know. And then
But
we
you
took
know
it down to
what?
Hazeldale.
I know it.
I know. We drove that whole
And
county.
we passed through Hazeldale, and we missed it because it's so quick. And I'm like, let's back this baby up and let's hit Hazeldale
Yeah.
again.
Right.
I mean, it was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And you know what's so great now? Cumberland County loves us.
They do, and we
We're
love
one of
Cumberland
them.
County. Yeah, no kidding.
We're one
Yep.
of them.
Yeah, and we drove around there yesterday too.
We did,
I took you
yes,
across the
Cindy.
covered bridge and all the way
oh
back.
my good, and that covered bridge was just so beautiful.
It was.
You know what? Me and Andrew are going to have to go hiking. There's a hiking trail at that covered bridge. Baby, we're going to Greenup. We're going to go hiking.
Go hiking. Lots of beautiful scenery in Cumberland County.
They're just all riled up behind us
They
here.
are. We've got Millie Lee is hanging up the phone right now. I'll tell you why we want everybody to come on in. All the Cumberland County storytellers, champions, students, all those people back there behind the scenes. Everybody come on down here. Come on down.
Come on down.
Tania, everybody come on in here. These are all the folks who helped make all of this happen. We're going to get everybody in here. WEIU staff, everybody join in. Yep, make sure that you can see. Yes.
Come on in.
Let's all get friendly here.
Look at us.
Yes, everybody come on in.
Yay.
We got everybody?
Yeah.
All right, folks, this is Cumberland County. These are the folks that brought you the stories tonight. They're all family now. Cumberland County, this is our story, bringing it home tonight. Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you. That's it.
Cumberland County, This Is Our Story is brought to you in part by, for over 125 years, First Neighbor Bank is proud to be in your communities. We are pleased to help bring you Cumberland County, This Is Our Story, with locations in Casey, Charleston, Greenup, Mattoon, Neoga, Newman, Paris, and Toledo. Our focus is on our small town values. More information available at firstneighbor.com. Member FDIC. The Village of Greenup, known as the Village of the Porches. Hope you enjoy Cumberland County, This Is Our Story. We appreciate all of the champions and storytellers who are bringing you the show. The Village of Greenup is taking an active role in our community's growth. Additional information available at villageofgreenup.com. Bergbauer Chiropractic Family Wellness Clinic in Greenup, dedicated to providing you with professional care for both yourself and your family. We are excited to help bring Cumberland County, This Is Our Story to you. Please enjoy the show from your friends at Bergbauer Chiropractic Family Wellness Clinic. Irvin Equipment is a family-owned business based in Toledo. Irvin supports the efforts of everyone involved with Cumberland County. This is our story on WEIU. Irvin stands for integrity, commitment, and innovation, as do the stories in this program. More information available at irvinusa.com. The Cumberland County Development Corporation is proud to help fund Cumberland County. This is our story on WEIU. Cumberland County Development Corporation operates as Cumberland County's primary contact for economic development activities. Information is available at cumberlandcountydevelopmentcorporation.com. Additional support for Cumberland County, This Is Our Story is brought to you by the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency.
This program is partially supported by a grant from the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency.
Nightly Business Report, TV's longest-running evening business news broadcast, featuring in-depth reporting and analysis of the day's leading financial stories. The Nightly Business Report, weeknights at 6 on WEIU.
Join us Friday at 7 on WEIU.
Happy people are healthier.
Author and happiness expert Gretchen Rubin, along with sister and Hollywood writer Elizabeth Kraft, give you strategies so you can build your own roadmap to happiness.
Be watching Friday at 8:30 on WEIU.
There's so many times that either I was fighting with someone or I was sad about, you would probably find me in here. Been in here and quiet with maybe lights on, lights off, just like shooting the ball that you've been holding since 8 years old. You know, it's just something that you know and it's something that you're familiar with no matter what's going on. My name is Sabina Orsova, but I'm known as Sabi, and I'm from Bratislava, Slovakia. I started playing when I was 8 years old, and I was basically only one from my family playing basketball because everybody else was focused on kayak and canoe, so my whole family was playing that sport. People in my family were like athletes and very successful athletes, so there were some people that I really looked up to, and I knew how it is to be athlete and what is the life of athletes gonna be. Before I even came here, I played for a professional team I was just helping them out because it was in my hometown. So I was playing with them, so I got to play with Americans and, you know, just a professional, like big players. And then when I came here, the main difference was the physicality of the game, maybe the speed of the game, and just maybe like the whole attitude about sports here compared to Slovakia.